Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tatas Cave. This is season 1, episode 8. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about spirit autonomy, spirits, and how exactly one gets spirits in the first place. And a little bonus section speaking on how a neophyte or a newbie, someone that is brand new to the traditions, should understand sacrifice. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So, spirit autonomy is something that is very misunderstood. People think that in order for the spirits to be doing the right thing, they need to be commanding them. And this is categorically and factually incorrect. Spirits are still people. They just no longer have a physical body. Their physical body has failed them, but they are still that person, period. They still have personality. They still think. They still do. So in a lot of cases, I've even seen, a lot of the spiritual community having whole long drawn out spiritual wars because this person got a divination and they were told that person was hexing them or throwing at them. And in fact, that was not the case at all. Person 1 wronged person 2, and person 2's spirits actually took it upon themselves to go clap that person. That's something that is very common. Spirits can and do make up their own mind, and they do a lot of their own things. So then what amount of control do we actually have over the spirits? Well, it really depends on what you practice. In some practices, the belief isn't to control the spirits at all. It's to let them be, and they will do what they do. In other practices, there is a controlling element to the spirits. And then some practitioners will refuse to use it, while others will absolutely go ahead and abuse it. So let's talk on Palo, for example. In Palo, there is a controlling element to the spirits, right? So there is a way to force spirits to do something that they wouldn't normally do. And you hear old heads all the time talking about making good spirits do bad and making bad spirits do good. And that sounds terrible. Why would I do that? And the answer is balance. Balance. Balance means everything. It's too much light and clarity and unicorns and all this other stuff is actually toxic. Too much negativity is toxic. You have to be balanced, just like you are in your normal everyday life. You can be happy, and then someone T-bones your car. You're not going to be light and clarity and rainbows and unicorns. You're going to be pissed. They T-boned your car. And that's just life, And it's the same thing with spirits, right? And all spirituality, according to how Paulo views it, there's a balance to it. There is good things and bad things, and both are necessary. You cannot sit here and dwell too hard on one or the other, because you will upset your own spiritual balance, which is worse than anything else. That is literally the worst thing you can do with your spirituality. So generally speaking, when I see people out here just being all light and clarity, and I'm a white witch and I'm only good and I don't do nothing bad, I generally have a question for them. So since energy cannot be destroyed, not by us anyways, right? It can only be used. The question is, so then when you bring light and clarity, when you bring good luck and blessings on someone, where does the negativity go? Where does the negative energy go? Have you ever thought about the fact that when you bring blessings to someone and you chase away their negative energies, Now you have cursed someone else with negative energy. Have you ever thought about that? And generally, when I ask this question, people tend to stop and really um, evaluate what they thought was all love and light. In reality, isn't. There's a certain element of darkness, even to that. Um, but yeah, so the autonomy of it is really spirits are people. They still do whatever they want unless otherwise told not to. Now in Palo, as I was mentioning, we do have a certain element of control over these spirits, right? So here's the interesting part, right? Most good elders will refuse to use that element unless it's absolutely necessary. For example, the spirit done got it through his thick head that he wants to hurt somebody like a family member of yours because they did something foul to you. Now keep in mind, Balo spirits do not believe in family. They do, quite frankly, they don't believe in nothing. Um, it don't matter who it is. If it's your mama, your own mama could catch these hands. They don't care. They got smoke for everyone but you. So let's say your mama did you wrong. I don't know. She put you out on the street and got real disrespectful towards you in front of your spirit. Your spirit can absolutely take it upon themselves that they gotta clap your mom. And this is not okay. So that spirit is now on a warpath to try to hurt your mama because of her disrespect and because she hurt you. And he's doing it for the love of you. On the principle alone that you should be respected, on the principle alone that you should be loved. It's not, oh, well, I'm going to just hurt this person because I'm going to hurt them. That's not how that works. But let's say you want him to stop. There is a certain element that you can use to force him to stop. Let's say you told the spirit, hey, look, stop, and they still wanted to go for it. There is a certain element you use to stop them. This is something that is normally how it's used. Now, and along with persecution and the Christian influence on Bakongo shamanistic traditions, we saw the rise of conquistador and or slave master mindsets being used while practicing Palo. And so the rise of the term of slave within Palo. Let me be clear. This is not something that should exist. This is something that is wrong on so many levels, but some elders still continue to preach this and teach this like if it's okay, but it's not. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about people using that element of control to enslave a spirit. Take a spirit by force and make them do things they don't want to or else. This is not okay. This is not the correct usage of that element. These elders then turn around and teach their God kids literally, this is your slave. You will command him and he will do what you say or else. This is not what it's supposed to be. This is crazy. This is wild. I cannot understand. I can't even begin to reconcile how this has become a thing within a tradition that came from an enslaved people all the way full circle back around to the people that are enslaving spirits. What? This makes no sense. It's just not logical. But that's how people use that element. Now keep in mind, there's going to be other traditions that also have a controlling element, and they may or may not have, the folks that feel like they should be controlling or enslaving these spirits. That's not the move. So let me explain the issue here. So when you take away a spirit's autonomy, their ability to move for themselves, think for themselves, what you're doing is you're creating resentment. They begin to resent you. And they wait. And you see, the thing spirits have that the living don't have is time. They have all of eternity. You don't. You are living. You have a very limited amount of time as a living person. So within that limited amount of time, you're going to make a mistake. Trust and believe you will make a mistake. One day you're going to do something minor, something little. And that little thing you did is going to open the door for them to be able to get at your neck. And when they do see that opening, they are going to go for it. They're going to go straight at your neck because they resent you, because they hate you, because you are enslaving them. You are no better than the slave masters. Now, flip it around. Let these spirits have their autonomy. Only use this controlling element to stop them from doing something that you would regret. Something that would be very drastic, something that would hurt you, something that would cause you trouble, something that should not happen. Then all of a sudden, those spirits don't resent you. They love you. And even if you left the door open for them to be able to get at your neck, they just won't want to. So they will never come at your neck. That is the difference in the autonomy there. Then we go to, well, how are spirits, how do they even get appointed to people? How does a person acquire spirits? First and foremost, you have to understand how the spirits view the living, right? So spirits view the living almost like inmates. Spirits are free. They are powerful. They're in their full power, in their full mind. They're not limited or constrained by anything. But the living, we are spirits that are trapped within a body. We are limited by our body, our intelligence, our strength, our power. All of these things are limited by the capacity of our body. And because of that, they see us as inmates. We are prisoners inside of a body. So they come and view us, and it's almost like a conjugal visit. You know, they come in to see their homie that's serving time in the world of the living. Now when you understand that, you understand that there's a certain almost emotion of sympathy. Like, we feel your pain. You're over here doing time, huh? Wow, let me come visit you. And then when you see it like that, you start to understand how spirits come to be a part of a person's spirituality. Usually, they're going to be some sort of a family member or some sort of a spirit that is familiar with you. So, in most cases, you'll see stuff like ancestors, childhood friends. You might see in more rare occasions spirits that of people that you knew from past lifetimes. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of emphasis on they knew you. And what happens is they decide that if you're going to serve time, they're going to come and be your guardian. They're going to protect you. They're going to help you through it. Now, it's very interesting because I mentioned in a previous podcast that we have an understanding of different positions of spirits. So there's individual, there's family, and then there's a tribe or nation, whatever you want to call it. But so then how do spirits become, let's say, for example, family spirits? Well, that's when these spirits are specifically looking at one member of the family, and then they see that it's not just the one member of the family, it's the whole family that needs help. So then they stick around guarding and helping the whole family. And it's a lot of the same in terms of like, how do they decide, how does it even come down that they should come here for this person? And yes, they do get to choose because they have autonomy. Absolutely, they do get to choose if they're going to come and protect the family. Now, certain ceremonies, certain rites, certain practices, you can actually get spirits and assign them to guard a family. Yes, that is true. But some spirits automatically do this. Let's say, for example, the best example for it is ancestors, right? If you have that one great great grandma, and she hangs around the whole family, that's what she is. She is a family spirit. She continues to watch over the whole family because these are all her babies and the babies of her babies. And so she's going to keep watching them to make sure everyone's all right and try to get them on a best path as possible. But traditions do have abilities to, let's say, in inject some spirits into that kind of a category. That's the best way I could explain it. Where they would place spirits at that level, watching over entire families. Then you have at the tribe level, these are spirits that are of the highest magnitude, right? They started off originally watching over one person, then they became a family spirit, and then once they saw the family, then they realized, hey, you know what? No, this goes much deeper than the family. This is a much bigger thing. I need to sit here and watch over this whole tribe or this whole nation. These kinds of spirits are very, very rare. There isn't a lot of them. But the ones that do exist are very strong spirits. They are very elevated and they don't mess around. But they also have autonomy. That's the current theme for all these spirits, for all of spirituality, right? Just like you have a free will as a living person, spirits have a free will too. Just like you wouldn't like it if someone takes your free will away from you, they wouldn't like for you to take their free will away from them. Just like you would appreciate it if you was about to get into a fight and get your ass locked up, and then I step in and I tell you, no, don't do that, you're going to regret it. They would appreciate it if, like before they do something dumb, you jump in and you're like, don't do it. But these are all things that are, they should be common sense, but they're not. A lot of practitioners are not observing these things. A lot of practitioners don't even believe in these things. As a matter of fact, I just recently heard someone say something along the lines of, if your ancestors are not doing what you need them to do, take their coffee away and tell them you get no coffee until it's done. What? How is that okay? How is that okay? What if they were already working on it, but it's more complicated than what you think it is? Oh, I just need $1,000. Okay, we're going to make it happen. But you know what? In order for that to happen, we got to make a lot of other shit happen first. We got to line up the dominoes to then make the domino effect so that you could get your $1,000. So it's not going to be something that just happens, overnight. It's going to take us a bit, but we're going to get it done. And here you are taking their coffee away because they didn't do it when you thought appropriate. Keep in mind what I said. The living are limited in intelligence and in spirituality by the capacity of their body, while spirits are not. So that means that spirits are almost infinitely more intelligent than the living. When you leave this world and you leave this body, which you will, I promise you, everyone that is hearing this, we all have a beginning and we all have an end. When you do, you will come to terms with the fact that life was not the greatest thing that happened to you. Life was an experience of many. Death is another experience. But being a spirit is truly liberating. You are very, very open and mighty and powerful, and you just exist. Whereas being living is a very humbling experience. You're limited by your intelligence, you're limited by your physical force, you're limited in your spirituality, you're limited almost everywhere, right? Um, so it's completely asinine to sit here and think that you know better than the spirits. You know more than they do. You told them you needed $1,000, and they said, "Hey, look, we're gonna get it done." And now you think you know more than them, and you think they playing you, so you gonna take their damn coffee. Okay, that's your problem. But I don't do it to mine, and I do not recommend anyone that specifically learns from me do it to theirs either. That's asinine. That's a betrayal, because they're doing everything you asked for, and they just want a little bit of comfort. So they want payment for that favor. I'll do you a favor, but you do me a favor. But when I do you a favor and then you refuse to do me a favor, what is that? That's free labor. What's another word for free labor? That's forced. That I have no option but to do, because the person I'm here for is the one that made me do it. Just keep that in mind the next time you guys are out here doing this to your spirits. Um, but yeah, so that's how spirits determine that they are going to be with a person. So how do they actually end up with a person? So when you're born into this life, your very first action as a living person is to breathe in. That's the very first action as a living person that the baby does. When they breathe in all their blessings, all their ancestors, all their spirits and spirit guides, all of it that they will need for their entire lifetime. They breathe them in. Moving forward, you start seeing that this is a very big deal. This is a very big deal. Breathing in these beings, these energies all at once. So you can understand that absolutely their spirituality is all over the damn place as a baby. All over the damn place. As they grow older, it starts to settle. So this is why you notice, you see that a lot of people that when they're children, when they're babies, they have a really, really wild spirituality. Their third eye is wide awake. They're off in like astral land. They're over here doing all this other stuff, doing the most, telling you about their past lives and whatnot. And it's like, hold on, little man, you just learned how to talk. How you writing a whole book already, you know? And then as they get older, the parents and society starts telling them, no, you're not really seeing what you're seeing. No, that's not real. No, that's not okay. That's witchcraft. No, that's the devil work. And they start putting this no and this fear in their head. And so children go growing up ignoring this connection that they have. And as they go ignoring it, they start losing it. But don't fear, that is not lost for good. That's kind of like riding a bicycle. You know, you learn it as a child, and then you ride bike all throughout your childhood. Hopefully, I don't know, I grew up in an old time where outside was the favorite toy. Just saying. But nowadays kids stay inside. But what I'm getting at is, you know, you learn to ride a bike as a child, and at some point you reach adulthood and you just stop riding that bike and you forget all about how to ride a bicycle. And then one day, as a full old ass adult, you feel young, you feel happy, and you want to try. You see a bike and you want to try. You want to try to remember your childhood. And you hop on that bike and it all comes rushing back to you. It'll take you a while to, remember everything and get good again. But it's there. The spark is there. You really knew this. And it's the same thing with your spirituality. When you go from a child, you get shut off. As an adult, it'll be off. But, you start reconnecting the dots and it all starts rushing back. It'll take you a while. It'll take you a while to fully comprehend and be able to use your gifts. But, you definitely will get it back. It's not completely lost. So then we have, this is a part of spirituality, right? That people don't tend to mention. It all starts at birth. This all comes from birth. This is not something that is rare. This is not something that only specific people can achieve. Your mediumship is an everyone thing. Because everyone has spirits. Because everyone has ancestors. Some better than others, some taller, some shorter, some this, that. Everyone's got a little bit different, but everyone has this in one way or another, so everyone can communicate with this. It's just they don't know how to, and they don't have the proper teaching how to. That's the problem. Now, since I mentioned how you acquire spirits, I'll mention how you get rid of them. So, when you're first born, your first action in life is to breathe in. When you pass, your very last action as a living person is to exhale. When you exhale, you release them back. You release the bond that you had. And this is the only time where it's actually acceptable to release the bond of these spirits and these ancestors and these beings and these energies. Outside of this, it's unacceptable. It'll never happen. They cannot be released without you being released from life. You have to die in order for your spirits to be completely done with their mission. So I say all this to say that the acquiring of spirits, so they see you as, poor thing, my homie's out here suffering, let me go help them. Then you breathe them in. This in turn gives you spiritual blessings and gifts and abilities, which then leads to a whole lifelong journey of them connected to you on a physical level. And then when you've passed, then they guide you into the afterlife. That is the autonomy and how spirits are acquired and how they interact with people and whatnot. Primarily the ones that do this are our ancestors, though. So then at that point, you get the gist of how they view us, how autonomy works. So let's move on to newbies, new people, brand new to traditions, and how they should understand sacrifice and how to come to terms with it. Of course, what I'm talking about is sacrifice on different levels, but the main one that people that are new struggle with is animal sacrifice. So first off, you have to understand, at least in Palo, I can't speak for all the traditions, but in Palo, the sacrifice is a hero. The sacrifice is not something that should be disrespected. It's not something that should be mistreated. There's a whole process and a reasoning why this has to happen. So remember, the essence of life is blood. Blood carries life. Period. This is not up for debate. This is a fact of Palo. This is a fact of spirituality. That blood carries life. We could see that through all the other living animals on this world, even plants. They have what resin. I forgot what people call it, the official name for it, but it's kind of like a plant version of blood. Absolutely. Um, all animals have blood. So blood is what carries your essence of life. It doesn't give you life. It carries your essence of life. So when you sacrifice to the spirits, you're giving them the essence of life. And that is what they're feeding on. The essence of life. Um, so why does one struggle with sacrifices? Specifically, let's say animal sacrifices. It's because it's messy. And it's kind of brutal to watch. But this is a new modern day issue. See, people have now come to a point where they are sheltered from the reality of life. Um, we live in big cities and we have grocery stores, and when we want to eat something, let's say um, some beef, we don't personally have to go out and process that beef in order to eat it. We just go down to the grocery store and pay whatever it costs, and it comes already in its packaging, and we eat it. So we dissociate the actual hard part about that beef. For there to be beef for you to eat, someone had to process it. For there to be chicken for you to eat, someone had to process it. This is normal. This is a natural state of life. Animals will kill animals, period. They will eat animals. That's the natural chain, the natural order of things. It is only now that we, as people, have dissociated from the reality of the world. We now think that we have grown above the need for killing anything. To the extent where some people, I've had people tell me, well, look, I don't agree with killing animals, so that's why I don't eat meat. And I have this conversation with them and I ask them, yes, but do you think that plants don't feel when they're killed? Do you think the spirits in those plants don't feel that? Absolutely they do. They're no different than animals. Absolutely they do. They do feel it. And then you still consume them. So when you consume, let's say, for example, chicken, you're consuming the essence of life of that animal. When you consume lettuce, you are consuming the essence of life of that lettuce. There is no difference. The difference really comes down to a much more physical sense. The lettuce is more healthy for your physical body, not your spiritual one, for your physical one. Certain things will be more or less healthy. Like everything else, there's always a more or less. There's a varying factor here. There is no one size fits all in spirituality, right? So everything is everything, and some things are better, some things are not. That's just the reality of life and spirituality according to Pablo. So what I'm getting at here is you have to understand that in sacrificing an animal, you are just feeding a spirit, an animal. And this spirit is not like you. They don't have the option to go to the grocery store and get chicken. They don't have that option. They need you to bring the chicken and process it for them. So you are the one processing it for them. Then there's also the other matter of, well, you got to understand that to create life, to save life, you must pay with life. So when someone, let's say for example, has a very dire physical need, there's a very catastrophic life event happening, then you trade a life for a life. Now, I don't want to sound like an elitist when I say this, but I'd rather save a human at the cost of a chicken than to save a chicken and let a human fall. That's not even up for debate for me. In my eyes, the chicken will always be a hero. Chicken, you save this person. I won't mistreat it. I won't disrespect it. It's always going to be, chicken, you save this person. Thank you for your sacrifices. The person then gets to lead a happier life behind this sacrifice. Is it messy? Absolutely. Is it necessary? Absolutely. It only gets to the point where it starts getting out of hand, where certain people that are practicing are no longer doing it out of necessity, and now they're doing it for their own personal reasons. Like, for example, I've heard of specific practitioners, quote unquote elders, constantly feeding their gangas on an everyday basis. You know, every day it's a chicken for this, a rooster for that, a goat for this, a this for that. It's every day. This is not okay. There are other solutions that do not require that. This person is just doing it for the shock value, for the ability to have bragging rights and say, yeah, my spirit always eating. No, stop that. There are other ways to solve things. Not everything requires an animal sacrifice. Certain things do, not everything. So that's a whole nother thing. This shouldn't be an everyday occurrence. It should only be out of necessity. When it is absolutely necessary to do it, then you do what you must. Other than that, you don't. So I've had that conversation with a lot of new people, and they start to understand that this isn't what they thought it was. We not out here just, snapping necks and killing chickens just because, fuck that chicken. No, that's not how that works. There's a process to it. There's a reasoning to it. And it's not something that should be taken lightly. It is something that should only be done when necessary. There's a lot more to how exactly one should understand other sacrifices outside of animal sacrifices, because that's another thing that new people do not understand. When they hear the word sacrifice, the first thing they think is, great, now we killing chickens and I don't feel comfortable with it. Well, not all sacrifice is animal sacrifice. Some sacrifice is about you, what you do. For example, when your spirits ask you for a plate of food, they don't want you to buy McDonald's and put it in front of them. That's not what they want. What they want is for you to sacrifice, for you to get up, get in that kitchen, and make them something. Put some work into it. Put some sweat into it. Put some effort. This is you sacrificing for them. I'm sacrificing my time. I'm sacrificing my effort. I'm over here working in this hot ass damn kitchen to make you a plate. And then you come with this plate, and people think that when you put these plates of food in front of the spirits, it's about the food. It's not. It's about the sacrifice. It's a spirit. What are they going to do with that food? They're not going to eat that. They don't want to eat that. Where are they going to put it? They're not going to put it nowhere. And specifically, while I'm on that subject, I've seen people freak out because a pet will come in and go ahead and steal a chicken off the spirit's plate. Leave that dog alone. If the spirits didn't want the dog to have that chicken, they wouldn't let him have that chicken. If the spirits didn't want that cat to have that rice, they wouldn't let the cat have that rice. They don't care. So they let him have it. So leave the spirit, leave the animals alone. If the spirits allowed it, then they allowed it. That's their problem. They have whatever understanding with the household pet that you are not a part of. You need to go ahead and stay out of this because this is between them two. Um, but yeah, so it's the sacrifice what they're looking for. It's not the food. When they tell you make me coffee, it's not about the coffee. They can't drink coffee. It's about the work that went into it. So don't go to Starbucks. Don't go to Starbucks and come back with a Starbucks cup of coffee for the spirits. They are not going to appreciate that. You didn't sacrifice shit. You didn't do shit. They want you to get up in that kitchen and start brewing the coffee. Make me coffee. And then you start seeing these things. You start seeing that there's sacrifices outside of animal sacrifices. It doesn't always have to be animals. There's other things. For example, in Palo, there's an understanding of there's a journey. It's a whole process, a whole journey towards initiation. It is not come to my house one time and I'ma just like do some things for 10 minutes and you're done. No, it's a whole journey. And throughout that journey, you will find yourself constantly being tested, constantly making sacrifices for the spirits. These sacrifices can range, really. They can range from something minor, like, well, they wanted coffee, and so today you're running like 10 minutes late to your meeting. Or it could go all the way upwards of, you know what? I do want animals. But at the end of the day, it's all about sacrifices. So even that journey does include sacrifices. Not all of them are animals. So for all you new people out there that have this issue with sacrificing animals, understand that the animals are respected and appreciated. There's a reasoning why it is done, but not everything is animal sacrifice. So when you hear the word sacrifice, don't immediately jump to animals. Ask questions first. What kind of sacrifice? What are we doing here? And if it is animals, just keep in mind, this isn't just because, we want to be butchers or anything like that. It's because it's necessary to trade one really good thing for one really bad thing. That is the balance of the universe. It is a necessary evil. Alright, y'all. That's all the time I have this week. Don't forget, the Munanso does accept donations. It is optional. I do not judge anyone for not donating. But donations are appreciated. They go towards helping to keep the Munanso running. And it also goes to helping new people that reach out looking for help. This is because the Munanso is a charitable organization. We don't care to become rich off of the tradition. We just want to help the people, the community. With all that said, be blessed, y'all. Take care. Keep your head up. And remember, respect your spirits, respect your ancestors. They always come first.